Slow-cooked beef casserole is an absolute favourite in our house all winter. Firstly, because cooking long and slow creates a delicious tender meat with vegetables cooked to perfection. I like it because dinner is ready when I get home and there's very little to wash up. Your meal kit contains 750 grams of chuck steak, vegetables, herbs, spices and wine. You'll need to supply olive oil. Let's get started. We'll prepare our vegetables, starting with the carrot, then celery, onion, potato and garlic. Next we'll coat the meat in seasoned flour and brown it in a frying pan. Sweat our vegetables and put all these in the slow cooker with some wine and stock, rosemary, thyme and bay leaves. Peel all the skin off the carrot. Try to buy carrots that are evenly shaped, as this will make it easier to peel. Now cut the ends off the carrot and cut in half. Then cut each half down the centre. We want a stable base to cut the carrot so we don't risk cutting ourselves. Cut the carrots into cubes. They don't need to be too small as they will be cooking for 8 hours. Slice the celery down the centre of the celery stick and cut into cubes. If your celery is starting to wilt, put it in a glass of water for 15 minutes and this will make it crisp again. Cut the onion in half and remove the outer skin. Make cuts in the onion to the centre, then cut the other half on an angle. This will keep the onion together and make it easy to finely chop. We're going to sweat the onions. That means cooking them on a medium heat so the liquid is released and evaporates, but we don't want the onion to go brown. Sweating the onion makes it tender and it will become translucent. Don't rush this. Cooking the onions gently is worth the effort for the end result. Now do the same with the other half. And when that's done, chop over the onion again just to make sure you get any of the larger pieces. Peel the potatoes. I'm using a speed peeler, which I find makes peeling a lot faster and much easier. If you want to buy one, go to the shop now on the website and they're in the utensils tab. Cut the end off the potato to create a flat, stable surface to rest the potato on. You don't want to have it moving around when you're trying to cut it up. Cut it into quarters and then into cubes. I like this recipe because the potato is added in with the rest of the vegetables, so I can put everything into the slow cooker, set it, and arrive home 8 hours later with nothing more to do. But if you prefer, you could boil the potatoes and make mashed potatoes to serve with the beef casserole. Do the same with the second potato. If you're preparing the potatoes before you'll be cooking the casserole, then it's important you put them into water to stop them oxidizing. This happens when peeled potatoes are exposed to the air. Use a knife blade to loosen the garlic skin. If the clove is large, you may need to cut the end off the garlic before you try to remove the skin. Use a garlic press to crush the garlic. You will need a good quality garlic press. I'm using an OXO brand, which is very easy to use and durable. These can be purchased if you go to Shop Now and then to Utensils. Put the chuck steak into the bag. The bag contains plain flour seasoned with salt and pepper. The flour adds flavour to the dish and will thicken the sauce. Slow cookers don't release moisture and therefore the liquid will not thicken during the cooking process. It is important to use less liquid when using a slow cooker. If you put in too much, it will end up more like a soup than a casserole. Cooking a casserole in the oven usually requires 3 times the liquid, as a lot more moisture escapes during this type of cooking. As a rule, I would recommend using 1 cup of wine or stock, or a mixture of both, for the slow cooker, and 3 cups of wine or stock in the oven. Heat a frying pan on a high heat while you're tossing the meat to coat all the pieces. You will hear the meat sizzle when it hits the frying pan. Add oil to the pan and shake the meat to remove the excess flour. We want to cook the meat on a high heat so the outside caramelizes and a crust is formed. This adds a richer flavour to the casserole and enhances the appearance. Heat the pan on a high flame and then add the meat in batches. You don't want to overcrowd the pan or the cooking temperature will be reduced and the meat will start to stew in its own juices rather than being browned. Now pause the video while you brown the rest of the meat. Welcome back. Now with the last batch brown, set the meat aside and put the pan back on the heat. Reduce the flame to medium and then add the vegetables. We reduce the heat to sweat the vegetables rather than brown them. Cook until the onions become soft. Let's pause the video again while you sweat the vegetables. Welcome back. The vegetables should now be softened and we are ready to fill the slow cooker. Put the vegetables in first. We do this because they take the longest to cook and should be closest to the heat source. Then add the drained potatoes, the meat and its juices, add the rosemary, thyme and bay leaves. Now add 1 stock cube, the supplied red wine and 1/4 cup of water. Put the lid on, set the slow cooker for 8 hours on a low setting. Lifting the lid will let the heat escape, so this will prolong the cooking period. It's not fancy, but it's simply homemade, made easy.